All right, all right, all right. Happy Thursday, everybody. Great to see you all. My name is Dr. Harry Heater, and welcome to your Higher Attendance Masterclass. I've talked to a lot of family and wellness chiropractors, and they all seem to have the same issue where people come into the office in pain and they get out of pain and then they go away. And they don't stay long enough to really be educated around the value of chiropractic care in a wellness model. And as family wellness chiropractors, that's what we're big on. We're not big on just getting people in, taking care of a symptom, and sending them down the road. We know that there's more for them and more for us when we have a happy, bouncy, enthusiastic wellness patient base. It's a great office to walk into. I always love it when I walk in and have um, wellness patients on my schedule. New patients, of course, we love them, right? Because it gives us a chance to pour into them and let them know that we're here for them, and that there's eventually let them know there's more than meets the eye with chiropractic. So I want to thank everyone for being on the call today. And what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about how you can reach more and teach more of your new patients so that we can get a larger wellness patient base in your office to turn those pain patients into wellness patients. They're not going to get this information anywhere else. It's going to be about 30 minutes. I have a couple of screens going. I've got a chat with a YouTube, not a YouTube, a Zoom screen on one side, and I've got the slides that I want to share with you on another screen. So if you see my head turning, it's all work related. So out of respect for your time, let's dive right into it. I'm going to share my screen with you and we're going to get rolling. Okay. I promise I know how to do this. Sweet. You don't need to see my face until we're finished. So here's my first question for you. And my question is, would you rather have all of your nights free, or would you rather have all of your new patients attend your workshops? Why choose when you can have both? Most chiropractors think that if they want to capture all their new patients for the new patient education workshop, then they have to be there every night to accommodate every unique schedule. I don't know any chiropractors who are willing to do that. It's simply not sustainable. Not that the heart's not in the right place, but it's just not sustainable. On the flip side of that, we stick to our schedule once a week, once every 2 weeks. You get much lower attendance, and a lot of the people that want to hear that information and need to hear that information, they don't get the benefit of that. And so we end up with more pain patients just stuck in the pain and relief cycle. And that's not what we're looking for, right? So, pardon me. So today I want to talk to you about how you can reach more and teach more of your new patients. The goal, of course, is to create more wellness patients and also at the same time, optimize your time and reclaim your nights. I want to make sure everyone's in the right seat. If this is for you, please stay. If this is not for you, you probably have better things to do for the next 30 minutes. But if you're a family wellness chiropractor and you want to turn more of your pain patients into wellness patients, you're in the right place. This is for you. If were like me and like a lot of wellness chiropractors I talk to, and you struggle to fill your new patient class, it's much lower attendance than you would like, this is for you. If you're done feeling deflated and unfulfilled because you're really not sharing all that you know that you can share, and sometimes you end up with a class for one, or maybe people cancel and you cancel the class altogether. If you're done feeling deflated, this is for you. Maybe the ROI on your time isn't what it used to be. A lot of chiropractors, as they grow, they start to have more family responsibilities. Maybe you want to take your daughter to jujitsu. You watch your sons play baseball, or you coach, and you'd like to have your nights free. Stick around. This is for you. So what we're going to do today is we want to talk a little bit about why a new patient education workshop is so valuable, the obstacles to filling it, and a solution. Because really my number one promise for you today is I want you to walk away understanding the Headspace Before Habits virtual new patient education class and how it can easily increase your reach and optimize your time. So why a new patient workshop? What's the value in a new patient workshop? Well, the value in a new patient workshop is that people don't understand what we do and what's available. I love what Reggie Gold used to say. He used to make an analogy with a food processor. And he said, if you want to make brownies, you buy a food processor because you want to chop a bunch of walnuts. And you do that. And it works great. And the brownies are wonderful. And you stick that food processor back under the cupboard. Well, are you getting the most out of that food processor? I mean, it is creating value for you, but I think we can admit that there's a lot that's still left on the table. But then you start reading the manual and you start educating yourself. And you go, oh my God, this thing can slice vegetables. This thing can puree soups. This thing can grate cheese. This thing can make bread dough. This thing's pretty awesome. I can make salad dressings. Now you start using that, and all of a sudden you've got an incredible amount of value around that, with your food processor. Well, what did it take to make the leap from brownies to doing everything? Well, what it took was a little bit of time to educate yourself. You had to sit down and read and understand what the capabilities of this kitchen machine was. And our new patient workshop is designed to do that exact same thing. It's designed to take that hour and a half, whatever the time you want to dedicate, and to pour into people and let them know, hey, I know that that chiropractic is for neck pain, back pain, headaches, bad ankles, bad knees, shoulder issues. That's why you're in my office. But here's a couple things you may not know, not only about health, but about chiropractic. And that's where we can set the foundation to build on with our table talk, week by week, visit by visit. Now, we know there's obstacles to filling these classes. One of the things I used to hear a lot is, gee, I'd love to come to class. Wednesday is jujitsu night, or, Wednesday is date night, doc. Sounds great. What other nights do you do the class? Well, I don't do the class any other nights. I can't stay every week to accommodate every unique schedule. And therefore, you start losing people, and you don't have that robust attendance that that they need in order to be the best patients, to get the best clinical results, and also to help your practice grow with being compliant, increase retention for wellness care, and of course, referrals, family and friends. Does this sound like you? Disheartened and jaded, for example. We just talked about that. It's really hard for me, it was difficult to stay really on my toes and stay motivated when I just couldn't seem to overcome this time issue with getting people to value the class and dedicate that time. Now, there's some tricks you can do around that. For example, some of the docs I've spoken to have taken their day 2 or day 3 and made it the same time as their health class, their spinal care class, 1 hour to wellness, whatever you call yours. I used to do group reports, and the group report was something that doubled as a new patient education, new patient orientation workshop. That's not for everybody. It takes a lot of time, especially if you have a lot of new patients. It's not the most efficient or effective way to go about it. Some doctors have pre-recorded their talks and put them up on their website. Problem with that is, when you start getting away from the live and interactive setting, patients' attentions drift, and they may tell you that they watched it. You don't really know. You can ask them some questions, but then you got to sort of tread lightly a little bit because they didn't come in there for a quiz. They're busy. They just got out of work. They're just going to work. They're on a lunch break. They come in, they get adjusted. Their focus is on their symptoms and feeling better and getting better. And if we start asking too many questions, and all of a sudden now it becomes sort of irritating for them. I've felt frustrated and undervalued because I really love to share and love to turn people on to something that they don't know is a thing. But I was a chef, and I was a professional chef for almost 20 years before I was a chiropractor. And I'd make some unique flavor combinations. And people would say, that does not sound very good. And I'd say, taste it. They taste it and say, holy cow, this is phenomenal. And I think chiropractic's a lot like that. People have, they hear what they hear, they see what they see before they come to us. Unfortunately, not a lot of it is very favorable or even very accurate, especially a lot of the stuff that you see on social media. And I love to be able to show people exactly what healthcare is. And I don't want them stuck in a pain mentality because it's very limiting, and we know that. We know what's on the other side for people when they get wellness care. And so from a personal standpoint, feeling like I'm not delivering everything I could is problematic. And a lot of the chiropractors I've spoken to is the same thing. And let's not forget about practice stagnation. We want our practices to grow. You want your practice to grow, right? Is there a better way than just spending, hundreds after thousands of dollars on external marketing? Sure, we can get really good. You can get really good at growing those internal referrals and being able to save that enormous marketing budget. Because there are a lot of financial advantages to having internal referrals versus having to pay to get new patients in the door all the time. I'm sure you've heard the studies, read the studies, seen the data. It's unmistakable. So if you're feeling like the practice is stagnant and it's plateaued and it needs to grow, you're not alone. That's why we're here. But the real problem is not the workshop, right? The problem really is what I call the 2 T's, time and trust. And it's not easily solved. Again, you're not going to spend every night after work delivering a new patient education workshop. And who do you really trust to do it for you? How are you going to get them, your new patients, the information that they need? Okay. Here's the cool thing. When you solve that time and trust problem, attendance at the workshops go up. Patients start to get chiropractic. Now, are they going to become chiropractors? No. There's that saying, if they knew what we knew, they would do what we do. A little overzealous, I think. It's nice to think about, but certainly if patients knew what we knew, they would take better care of themselves. They certainly would be more proactive, and that's where we're trying to get our patients, right? From a reactive pain mentality to a proactive prevention and maintenance mentality. Patients stay longer. Every single family wellness chiropractor that I've spoken to, when I ask what's one of the main benefits that you see that your patients get, your new patients, when they attend your new patient education workshop, they'll say they stay longer. They'll refer friends and family. The practice income grows. You get more predictable monthly income because you've got people on maintenance care, and you get your nights back because you're no longer having to deliver this class once a week, twice a week, once a month, twice a month. So a quick introduction from me. I graduated Life University in Marietta, Georgia in 2010. As I mentioned, I was a professional chef for almost 20 years before I went to chiropractic college. I'm very proud of the fact that I was awarded the Chiropractic Philosophy Distinction Award for my graduating class. I love to talk and to teach, and I did a lot of that. I did a lot of, probably like a lot of you, community talks, things out at hotels. I was at a farmer's market for 2 years. Schools, as I mentioned earlier, I did a group report of findings to help educate people on mass, and I really want to reach more people. And I was talking to a colleague, and that's when things shifted for me, because he put the thought into my head, instead of stopping at my patients, I should think bigger, and I should think about helping other chiropractors, so we can fill chiropractic offices all over the country. And my solution to that is the Headspace Before Habits program. Now, I talked about time and trust. So let's talk a little bit about how my program solves the time and the trust problem. Right now, do it yourself. You have limited class availability for your patients. It's one night a week. It's one time. Maybe it's every 2 weeks. They just have busy schedules, and trying to squeeze the class in there, unless they really, really see the value, then it's hard. There's a lot of new patients that miss out on what could really benefit them and benefit you in your office. The stress on the team and the workload on the team handling cancellations and rescheduling can be a lot. I mean, there's the physical time that it takes to be able to follow up with patients and do that. And then there's the emotional part of it too, because it almost feels like you're selling them. It can. And it can be deflating and discouraging to both you and the team when people cancel, people reschedule. A lot of people are being polite, and they'll make the appointment, and then they'll just not show up. They'll come up with a reason why they can't attend. Bottom line is, it's lower attendance. With Headspace Before Habits, I increase the access and convenience dramatically for your new patients. I hold a live and interactive, in a virtual setting, a live and interactive new patient orientation workshop. It's scheduled multiple days per week, multiple times per day. So there are 4 opportunities each week, 16 times in a month, that your new patient can choose a day and a time that fits them, and they can attend and get the information that they need, that foundational perspective information, through that vitalistic chiropractic lens. And it's the same vitalistic content, we'll talk about that in a moment, that you would teach your people. And the real key is that it's live and interactive. Study after study shows that people who are in a live and interactive environment, and you've probably noticed this yourself, are more engaged. They learn more. They ask questions and get answers in real time. So the depth of knowledge increases. The retention lasts longer versus sitting in a passive learning environment. If you take a class that's just recorded, your brain can drift. You'll pay attention to some stuff, you won't to others. If something doesn't quite sound right, well, how do you work it out? How do you, if you can't ask a question and get an answer? My classes are all live. They're all interactive. It's as close to in the office setting as possible. And this is a huge, huge advantage for you, your patients, and your practice. Let's talk about trust. Why me? Well, I understand, as family wellness chiropractors, we understand Principle 6. All processes take time, and that's relative to healing, and we talk to our patients about that. So I talk to you about that in relation to trust. Trust takes time. I don't expect you to trust me today. What I expect is that I'll have at least a good enough vibration that and a good enough plan and a program in place that it will intrigue you and you'll want to learn more. But there's a reason why I'm not selling anything today. There's a reason why you can just leave your wallets at home. Because before anything happens, you have to trust me. And you can't trust me if you don't even know me. And so a little bit later, you'll have an opportunity to get to know me. I'll get to know you in your practice. And we'll work on this very, very important foundation. All the class content you get to approve. So I've put together a very strong and a very foundational, fundamental program that I think will attract virtually every family wellness chiropractor, because it's very, very focused. What I'm teaching are the common health perspectives that people need to know. So, for example, function versus feeling. We know that our patients judge their health by how they feel. We also know that a very small amount of nerves in the body are sensory nerves. So judging our health by how we feel is very unreliable. It's why we all do some sort of functional assessment in the office. Virtually all chiropractors do that. And it could be using technology. I used to use a NeuroInfinity. The thing was tremendous. Some people use a subluxation station. Some people myovision. Whatever your technology. Other chiropractors, you'll do muscle testing or functional movement evaluations, but it's all a functional analysis, not based on feeling. Our patients need to know more about that, because if they continue to judge the health by how they feel, are they going to stick around, or are they going to be, short-termers? And the pain goes away, they go away. That's kind of been what they've been taught their whole life, right? We want to talk about a process versus an event. People think chiropractic is a treatment for a condition. People think chiropractic's like taking a rock out of your shoe. Well, we know it's not, right? Healing takes what? Time. Time is a process. So I talk about that. I talk about being proactive versus reactive. People have a lot of proactive habits in their life, some relative to health, some relative to other things, right? Putting gas in your car when the tank is low is a proactive, healthy habit. You could be reactive, right? They could run out of gas, stranded on the side of the road, and then go hightail it to go get gas. No one's going to stop them. But to them, it's ludicrous. It doesn't even enter their mind, because they were taught at a young age that you be proactive, you stay out of trouble. Chiropractic does the same thing in a wellness paradigm, right? We know that. So we just need to start to teach people that same thing. And then, of course, kids in chiropractic. I don't go too deep into that, but I do want people to know that that's a thing, whether you adjust, children or not. It's not my concern or my business, really. It's your practice. You choose how you practice. But it does double as a good anchor to let people know that they could have and should have been getting adjusted right from birth. So we talk about the value in that. What I don't talk about is anything specific to an individual's complaint or your practice. So in other words, adjusting techniques, things like rehab exercises, nutritional information, supplements, anything that's that you might be passionate about, that you add on to the chiropractic adjustment as advice, how to sleep, what pillow to buy, things like this. All those specific particular items and topics are your purview. I don't talk about those. So I simply refer the patient back to you so that they can get your perspective, because you're providing the care. I'm providing the foundational education to help your practice grow, so that you don't have to miss out on new patients not getting the information, and so that you can get your nights back at the same time. You and your team have unlimited access to all the classes at all time. So you will always know what's being taught, how it's being taught. So really at this point, there are a couple options. You can continue to do it yourself. It can take months, years to be able to really nail it, figure it out, and to get the results that you're looking for. Or you can use a system that I've created that already solves the problems with time and trust so that you can reach more and teach more of your new patients. This is my invitation for you. I'd love to know what the vision for your practice is. I invite you to meet with me on a one-on-one call, private call, where we'll talk about the new patient education in your office. We'll talk about how good the compliance is, the retention, the referrals, what you've done, what's worked, what hasn't worked. I want to learn about you and your practice. I'll answer any questions I can and help you out all I can on the call. If there's something that I can assist with on the call, happy to give you as much advice and free guidance as I possibly can. Really, what I'm asking is, are we a good fit to work together? And we both have to answer that with a resounding yes, or it's just not going to be fruitful. Okay? No charge for the call. This is an invitation for a free 60-minute one-on-one call where we get to meet each other. We get to talk about chiropractic. We get to talk about your practice. We can talk about what's working and what's not. Okay? And again, I really want to stress that this is really important to me, that I work with people that want to work with me. Okay? And for example, I imagine you've had patients that have come into the office as a new patient and you turned them away because you could tell right away they weren't going to be a good fit for your office. Okay? And you're going to do the same thing with just about anybody when you're hiring a team, associate doc, front desk. You know, who they are, how they are, whether they're a good fit is enormous. Not just whether or not they can learn a specific task, right? Or follow a direction. You want to work with people you like and you know and you trust. Okay, I am the same way. So this is for chiropractors who really trust in wellness care, because it will be on you to reinforce these concepts that I'm teaching people. So being able to talk the tick, visit by visit, very, very important. For those of you that want to grow your wellness patient base, this is for you. If you're happy with where you are, if your compliance is great, if your retention is great, your referrals, your internal referrals are great, then you're probably not going to want this, right? But if you see room for growth, if you see room to be able to capture more of the new patients and teach them and train them, this is for you. If you're ready to reclaim your nights, if the return on investment of spending the time after hours, setting it up, buying the food, rearranging the furniture, going through the PowerPoint, hanging out, asking questions, working with the staff. I mean, it's a couple hours for everything to get wrapped up, you know, for you and your team. If you want to get your nights back, then I invite you to schedule a call and let's talk about it. Okay? And if you are like me and you're just tired of feeling stagnant, tired of feeling like you have so much more to offer, but you're not able to get it out there, if you feel stuck, if you're feeling unfulfilled, this is for you. So the next step is very, very simple. I'm going to ask you to scan this QR code with your phone. We're going to take a short sign-up break to allow you to be able to do that. When we come back, I'm going to share a perspective, a communication that I like to use with my patients that helps let them know that wellness chiropractic, maintenance chiropractic, getting adjusted in the absence of symptoms has enormous benefits and is really a thing. Okay, so I'll share that bonus communication with you on the other side of this short sign-up break, and then we'll do a little Q&A. So I encourage you to take out your phone, scan this, check your schedule, check my calendar, see where they both match, and go ahead and book that call if you want to turn more of your pain patients into wellness patients by really giving your new patients that foundation that they need. So I'm going to play a little traveling music here while we take this short sign-up break. And on the other side of it, I will come back. You can once again see my beautiful face. and we'll wrap it up. Appreciate you. See you in a few minutes. Hey. Welcome back, everybody. I hope all of you had a chance to check your schedules and see what worked and what didn't. And we can get together and have a little one-on-one time and find out what's going on. So I'm going to leave the screen up for you. So for those of you that need a few more minutes to do that, you'll be able to complete it. So I want to thank everybody, first of all, for, excuse me, for being on a call today. I know you get a lot going on in practice. I hope this was valuable for you. I really want to be able to help you grow your practice and to be able to fill your office with people who are loyal and people who value all the amazing healing powers that you have in your hands and in your heart. Because as chiropractors, we're very, very different people from medical doctors. I've heard so many bad stories coming from the medical community, from my patients. And, that's what they love about my care and about my office, is that I care and I show them that. And I know you do too. And so the more that we can show them the value of being in our presence for their health, for their well-being, for their life, and the life of everyone they love, the better off everyone else is going to be. So thank you again. So as promised, bonus communication. There are a couple studies that show the value of chiropractic care even in the absence of symptoms. The most common one is probably the vitamin study that people have used as a reference. There's also another study that was done that measured the effectiveness of routine chiropractic adjustments over a 12-week period. And whether or not there were recurrences of the musculoskeletal pain, which is what they measured. And there's not a whole lot of research with wellness adjustments like that, but this is a really solid study. And so based on these two, they both came with the same conclusion that about every 2 weeks, it's suggested that you use chiropractic for routine adjustments. So based on those studies, that's what I use. So here's a communication that I will have with my new patients. Now, sometimes it's on day one, sometimes it's during the report. It doesn't really matter where it fits in necessarily. You can choose where you'd like to use it. It's just wherever it feels comfortable and feels like it belongs. So it goes something like this. I'll acknowledge the patient's account of why they have their symptoms. A lot of people come in, they do not have an obvious accident or injury. It could be something that they think they did something wrong at the gym, right? Or they slept funny, or we hear that a lot. And I'll acknowledge that, and I'll say, yeah, that absolutely could have been the trigger. Sitting in a forklift, for 9 hours a day, and then getting up and having to do some heavy manual labor at the end of the shift. Yeah, that could definitely be the trigger that caused your symptoms. But there's something else I want you to consider. I said, would it surprise you to know? And I'm just going to use a 30-year-old new patient as an example. And I'll say, would it surprise you to know that it's not just what we do, but it's what we don't do that can get us into trouble also? And for example, if we're taking care of a house plant, yeah, we can give it too much water. We can give it too much light, and the leaves can get burned or dried out. But isn't it true that we can also damage the plant and make it unhealthy by not doing something? Like if we don't give it enough sunshine, if we don't use fertilizer, if we don't spray the underside of the leaves to keep it moist, can't we also damage a plant? And they get that. I'll say, well, it's the same thing with the human body. So would it surprise you to know that by the age of 30, you should have had, according to the research, around 750 chiropractic adjustments? And they'll sort of look at me like, what are you talking about? There's a couple different reactions. Some people, it just glazes over their head because they're not prepared for the conversation. Other people are engaged, but they're at least a little bit interested. And I'll say, it's true. There is a routine maintenance schedule for our spine. And I'll hold up the spine and I'll say, is your spine a body part? And they go, of course. Okay. So one of these two ideas will be true for you. Either A, there's no care needed and the spine will just always work great from when we're born to when we die. Or B, there's probably some sort of routine maintenance schedule we should follow, even when the spine's not giving us grief. What makes sense to you? Number one or number two? And they'll say, everyone says number two, routine maintenance. I'll say, well, do you know what that routine maintenance schedule is? And of course they don't. They say no. And I say, no, it's because you weren't taught. It's not your fault that you haven't been getting adjusted since you're a little kid. You didn't know. But I'm here to tell you now, based on the research, the routine maintenance schedule for a healthy spine, the suggested maintenance schedule is every 2 weeks. So that's about 25 times a year. So 25 times a year times 30 years old, that's your 750. That's the minimum number of adjustments your spine should have gone between when you were born and today. How do you feel about that number? And they'll usually say something like, wow, it sounds like a lot. I go, well, yeah, it probably does sound like a lot, right? Because you never really thought about this stuff before. But we can compare it to other things, right? You do routine maintenance for your hair and your skin. You shower and you shampoo, what, every day, every 2 days? Yeah. All right, so that's what, 300, 400, 500 times a year? You take a shower times 30 years? That's 10 or 12,000 times. 10 or 12,000 times you've gotten into the shower to prevent problems with your hair, your skin, and body odor and all that stuff. Yeah, I go, and your teeth are even more than that, right? You're taught to brush and floss your teeth, I imagine. How often? Oh, twice a day. Okay. So just for round numbers, let's say it's about 800 times a year times 30 years. It's 24,000. We'll knock off a few thousand because when you were a kid, you probably didn't brush your teeth twice a day. Probably said you did, but you probably didn't. So 20, 21, 22,000 times, you've picked up a toothbrush and not even thought about it to prevent, your teeth and gums from becoming decayed and degenerated, gum disease, cavities, and so forth. I mean, is 750 for your spine really all that much when you think about other body parts and other healthy habits you're already doing? And of course, they say no, it isn't. I said, but don't feel bad. I said, you didn't know. I'm not making you wrong. You weren't taught. You were taught those other healthy habits. You weren't taught this healthy habit. But I just want you to gain some appreciation that while, yes, your work posture, your diet, whether or not you lift too much at the gym or you use improper, mechanics, that matters. What you do matters. But I also want you to see the other side of the coin is that if we're not doing routine maintenance on a body part, isn't it more likely to get damaged? And they all agree. And so I'll say, that's where the long-term chiropractic care comes in. And that's how some people choose to use chiropractic, not just getting that initial group of visits to fight the fire and get rid of the pain, but actually to continue to come in even when they feel great because they understand the value of chiropractic care. Even in the absence of symptoms, it's about prevention. Same way that we use a toothbrush to prevent tooth decay, you can use a chiropractor. In fact, if you want to think of me as a 6-foot toothbrush, once your symptoms go away, great. I got no problem with that. Okay. So that's the communication I use, Doc. And of course, you massage that and put in your own words and your own flavor if you want, use your own analogies. But I really want people to understand the truth, which is that most people come into a chiropractic office because of what I call ASOT, accumulated stress over time. This little communication has worked really, really well for me. If you'd like to adopt it, please do. I want to thank you again, everybody who has made an appointment. I look forward to talking to you. I look forward to learning about your practice. Those of you that did not, I appreciate your time and attention. If there are any questions, I'm happy to stick around and answer those. In the meantime, I hope everyone has a very blessed week. Thank you for your attention.